Good morning, and you're on Office Hours with the Mad Professor. This is clearly not an office. I'm in the car park at my campuses. And I had a little time in the morning before my first class to record a quick clip. These videos, even really short ones, are surprisingly difficult to squeeze into my busiest semester ever. I have 10 classes this time because there was a massive spike in enrollment, so I took on some additional classes, which could be a good thing, but does leave me a little busy between the commutes and the grading and obviously the classes themselves. Whatever, moving on. I thought I'd make a quick comment about that anonymous editorial that was in the New York Times pretty recently. And I had made some comments in conversation with some friends when it came out, and surprisingly I've not seen my take on it show up in any of the other articles or discussions that I've seen since. So maybe it's less obvious than I thought it was. It certainly stood out to me. Its intended purpose seems to have been to reassure the American people that there are adults in the room and that they're keeping an eye on Trump, and that we shouldn't, be too concerned here, that not everyone is as deranged as Trump or whatever. From my perspective, far from being reassuring, I found the whole thing profoundly distasteful in a way. Yeah, I appreciated the interesting window on their thoughts and deliberations within, certain corners of this administration. Clearly not everyone, but, some people clearly are going to dislike the president and be upset by his patent irrationality. So it is, on the one hand, kind of nice to know that they're not all batshit crazy, but I actually found the thing profoundly distasteful, and it had quite the opposite effect of what I think was intended with it. Because to me, what stands out more than anything else about it is the naked partisanship. Now, it's intended to look like here are some people that are willing to put country over party, that they're willing to fight against their own president, that they had even considered invoking the 25th Amendment to remove him. And yet, supposedly decided not to because this would be some kind of constitutional crisis. Well, obviously, no, it wouldn't be a constitutional crisis. A constitutional crisis implies that you don't know what should be done, that it hasn't resolved, that it would have to go down to the Supreme Court or something like that, that it's a question, and it's not. The reason that this exists is to provide a constitutional remedy to obvious problems like mental incapacity or major illnesses or something like that. It's a simple solution. So that is utterly unconvincing. I'm not sure what this person thought who they were trying to fool with that. What stands out to me in their decision not to invoke the 25th, despite clearly not trusting the president's judgment in any way, is that they're thinking solely of partisan advantage, that they are willing to sell out their country for tax cuts on the rich and deregulation of polluters. That's what they care more about. Getting the agenda passed, it matters. And sure, you'd have that agenda with Pence, but would you? Because the problem here is that Donald Trump is ridiculously popular amongst the Republican base. Clearly not amongst a sizable fraction of the conservative movement that actually is genuinely conservative rather than reactionary, or genuinely committed to constitutional principles, or is well educated, or just not batshit crazy. There clearly are conservatives who do not like Trump. I know quite a few of them. But Trump is more popular with the overall Republican base, with the common Republican voter, than any modern Republican president by far. They love this guy, and the author of that editorial knows that if they were to remove him, if they were to stand up against him, that it would demoralize the base, that people would turn against the party, that they might not show up for the midterms, and make it more likely that they lose House and possibly even the Senate if so many people don't show up. It's a political calculation. They are considering their electoral prospects and what impact this would have on the Republican base. That makes the whole thing just partisan bullshit. It's an attempt to try and point out, hey, we're not all as crazy as him. Don't blame us for that. Although that, whatever, debatable. Since obviously they're willing to work with him. But the idea that they would, instead of following the constitutional remedy of removing an obviously dangerous person, that they're willing instead to defy his orders, to work around him, to, in essence, undermine their own president. That's not how our government is supposed to work. You should be able to trust the person in charge to know how to do their job and then be able to follow his orders. If they can't, and thank the gods at least some people know that they can't, because this man clearly knows nothing at all about the job he's doing, and even less about the world or the economy. But if they can't trust him to do his job, then the Constitution suggests they should remove him. Not doing so just to maintain their voting base going into elections in order to keep partisan advantage, that to me is the opposite of adults in the room, unless those adults are supposed to be dishonorable partisan hacks, as opposed to, patriotic Americans maybe. That's what I might have hoped for. I think the author was trying to say, hi, I'm a patriotic American and I don't like Trump too, but that's not really how it comes across at all. So that was my little thought on the editorial. Yeah, I'll keep this nice and short so I actually have time to upload something this week. These are obviously going to be a little bit more infrequent during this semester, but you'll live, I'm sure. All right, so this has been Office Hours with the Mad Professor. I'm Liam, and I'll see you again some other time.